Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. This is Gianni DePocio, your host. It's great to be back with you on this Friday afternoon. We had a very exciting week in markets. Stock markets broke out across the board under the heavy Uranian signatures, the Sun squared Uranus, on the 11th of August, which was the same day as the full moon, otherwise known as the sturgeon moon, in the month of August. But we saw some key economic data points as well. Inflation numbers came in below expectations. We talked about the likelihood and possibility of this unfolding last week. Came in a little bit lower. I believe it was 8.5% year over year and 0% month over month. So some of the policymakers are now declaring victory over inflation, but that may be a little bit more premature than they should be doing. So we'll keep an eye on that. But without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let's start off by looking at the Dow Jones, setting to close out near the highs of the week on this Friday. This is bullish price action, but we are rising into a heavy period of geocosmic signatures, so need to be on the lookout for a potential reversal at any time. But we do point out how this rally really started to accelerate right after we had that trine aspect between Venus and Neptune, and the square aspect between Mars and Saturn. Also had an opposition between Venus and Pluto as well. That was on the 9th, which was the day before the CPI numbers were released. So you can see it was very heavy, intense signatures with respect to stock markets, currencies ruled by Venus, both of those are, and debt markets, which are ruled by Pluto. We'll look at an interest rate chart in just a moment here. But naturally, the big move had to do with the Sun square Uranus. Uranus rules breakouts, and we saw a breakout indeed. And equities are now trading at 2+ month highs, highest levels since going back to the beginning of May in the case of the Dow. The Nasdaq also had a good week, and we saw some notable leadership early on, lagging a little bit going into the weekend, but still a very constructive week overall. Uranus also rules tech, so it was good to see the Nasdaq lead and making a higher high coming out of the recent decline that we just experienced. But looking forward into next week, we have our sights set on the opposition between the Sun and Saturn on the same day. Mars will trine Pluto, and that's going to be on the 14th of August. And then we will also have a trine aspect between Venus and Jupiter on the 18th. And then on the 20th, next Saturday, Mars will ingress into the sign of Gemini, and that will mark the beginning of an 8-month journey in Gemini. So that's going to be very interesting, and see if we get some increased volatility during that 8-month period. And remember, volatility works two ways, to the upside and to the downside. But Mars in Gemini is very much an aggressive trading signature, I would posit. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 10-year interest rate yield. We see that we came up off the lows. Initially, the reaction following the CPI numbers was negative, and rates came down, meaning that bond prices went up. But on the day after, they rebounded strongly. And a big reason behind that is the dollar's been coming down after these numbers, CPI numbers came out, because traders are expecting the Fed to perhaps be a little more slow or less aggressive in their interest rate hikes. And we're seeing all these Venus and Pluto signatures right now, so that's not unexpected totally. But overall, the trend has been up. We did make a new low compared to the low from the end of May. But if inflation starts to pick back up via a rally in commodity prices, I think it could turn into a panic of the sort, especially when it comes to monetary policy and fiscal policy and whatnot. So let's go ahead and take a look at crude oil. Crude oil continued to rally off a low that formed last Friday, which was one trading day before the trine aspect between Venus and Neptune. So Neptune is a co-ruler of crude oil with Jupiter, and so it's nice to see a reversal unfold around the time when a planetary signature that rules the market occurs. But coming back down a little bit on this Friday afternoon, but I do want to take a look at XLE, the energy ETF, because that's holding up pretty well. This is a basket of energy stocks, and this is going out near the highs of the week, which is a pretty bullish sign. I also want to take a look at the GDX precious metal ETF because we saw some pretty significant moves in precious metals. It was choppy, but they ended up holding their gains. Gold and silver both held their gains, which is a good sign. And just keep in mind that metals have not liked the rise in interest rates over the last couple of years, but gold closing out relatively near the highs of the week this past week. And interestingly, we haven't really observed many strong quantifiable relationships with the sun and gold. The sun rules gold because the sun rules Leo, and Leo, the sign, rules gold. But we did see a pretty significant move on the day before and the day of the square aspect between the sun and Uranus. So interestingly, we had that planet that ruled gold making that big move in the market. So that pretty much takes care of what I wanted to look at today. I do want to look at one or two more charts, but we're coming around the corner here. Homebuilders, this is going to be, along with GDX, going to be an ETF featured in the ETF report that's going to have its very first publication set to be sent out on the 17th of August. I'm going to be the author of the report, so definitely recommend that you check that out. I'm going to be covering 8 ETFs. Ray and I talked about that a little bit last week, and then talked about it in more detail in the previous week. But Homebuilders having a strong week as well, set to go out near the highs of the week. So we're seeing strength across the board. But I also want to bring attention to what's going on in the crypto market, because despite the strong rally in equities, the rally in Bitcoin has been lackluster, and in Ethereum it's been a little bit better, but still some technical difficulties that we've been addressing in detail in the MMA cryptocurrency report. So definitely recommend that you check those out at www.mmacycles.com. So that takes care of all the charts that I wanted to look at with you today. I also want to drop a reminder that we're going to have the MMA Monthly Addendum Report published on the 22nd of August, so in 2 weeks, and then we're going to be having our MMA investment retreat in Troy, Michigan, September 9th through September 11th. So details can be found at www.mmacycles.com, and spaces are limited, so don't hesitate. If you wish to attend, act now, because they will fill up quickly. So thank you all for watching. Wishing you all a great weekend, and we will catch you next week after our next update. Thank you.